Hello, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, good evening. Here are the headlines in the Northwest.
You're ordinary men fighting for your job. And next thing, you've got a prison uniform on.
40 years after they were sent to jail in a battle to save their jobs, could there be fresh hope for these shipyard workers who say their convictions must be overturned?
Well, in an hour's time, the Commons chamber beside me will hear an unprecedented plea to reopen the case of the Camel Laird 37. I'll have the full story.
Working together to end division, the Muslim and Jewish leaders bringing a message of solidarity into classrooms.
Getting people on their bikes to boost well-being in Burnley.
And the ancient treasures stealing the limelight in a glittering exhibition.
So first tonight, a fight for justice more than 40 years after one of the most heated industrial disputes of the 1980s.
Yeah, the Camel Laird 37, a group of workers at the Birkenhead shipyard who were jailed during a strike to save their jobs, are fighting to have their convictions overturned.
The men, now in their 70s and 80s, say they were victims of a politically motivated miscarriage of justice.
Well, Camel Laird is still going, of course, but an entirely different company these days, with the present management having no connection to the shipyard when it was privatised by Margaret Thatcher's government.
Well, tonight, MPs will be asked to consider the merits of a public inquiry into the judicial system's handling of the strike and whether, after 4 decades, it's time to clear the men's names.
Our political correspondent, Nisha McNally, has this special report.
These men have a shared past and a shared pride. When they look back at the shipyard, many went on strike to save, a fight that landed dozens of people in prison.
Looking back, would you do it all over again?
Without any doubt whatsoever, we do it again tomorrow.
This is the story of the Camel Laird 37.
The Queen goes to Merseyside. 60,000 are at Camel Laird shipyard at Birkenhead to welcome her.
From the turn of the 20th century, the Camel Laird shipyard made its mark across the world, building passenger ships, aircraft carriers and military vessels. But by 1984, the site in Birkenhead was at the centre of its own battle.
I understand that plans to privatise the yard are already well advanced.
Privatisation and deindustrialisation under Margaret Thatcher had changed the working landscape, and by May, 1,000 compulsory redundancies were announced here. 37 workers staged a protest, occupying a partially built gas rig on the site in a fight to save their jobs and their community.
How long are you prepared to stay there? We get our jobs back.
There's me with me woolly hat on.
If they break us, they'll break the other yards.
Billy Albertina led the strikers who occupied the yard through the long, hard weeks on the oil rig.
First of all, they started making it harder to get the food on. So we had to cut down on the food. No beds, no proper furniture. The only good thing that kept us going. And I think this is a lot to do with being Scousers, was we took the mickey out of each other. We believed in each other. So we thought if we stuck together, we'd win.
But they couldn't. The 4-month occupation ended when the water supplies were cut off. The Camel Laird 37 were arrested and jailed for 1 month. But the consequences lasted far longer. They were sacked, stripped of their pensions and blacklisted.
We thought it was scandalous. You're ordinary men fighting for your job. And next thing, you've got a prison uniform on and you're walking around a prison yard. Some men who were crying because they was away from the families. When we come out of prison, I couldn't get a job. There was only one family called Albertina and that was ours. So it's stuck in everyone's memory. I'm talking about employees. And I always got knocked back. We struggled a lot.
Yeah, we knew what was going to happen. So that's why we were doing the strike.
Alan Small was an apprentice at the shipyard, watching his industry disappear in front of him. He says the actions of the 37 were heroic.
The lads weren't just fighting for their own jobs, they were fighting for our jobs, our futures, and basically the whole future of Birkenhead, really, because they were the biggest employer at the time. And when them jobs went, you could see the impact it had on the town. A lot of my friends were unemployed at the time. I couldn't find work anywhere. I had to leave. So the impact of that, you've only got to walk around the town now and look at it, the devastation. So there's a lot of people turn to drugs and alcohol and just everything that comes with that.
How did you feel when you heard the 37 had been put in prison?
It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that people would be thrown in jail for fighting for the jobs. I still can't believe it now. It was wrong then and it's wrong now.
The Camel Laird 37 have tried to overturn their criminal convictions. They remain the largest group in Britain to be jailed for union action, and in 2014 the European Parliament agreed there was no legal basis for it, urging the UK government to apologise and clear their names, something the men are still fighting for a decade later. But time is not on their side. 14 of the 37 have already died, including Christopher Whitley, brother of this former MP.
How urgent is it that the government acts on this?
My opinion is it needs to be done in this term, which is going to be a job and a half, I know that. But I believe, they've had 40 years of pain, 40 years of injustice, and I think now's the time for this Labour government to turn around and say, enough's enough. If somebody else gets in power after this term, it's not going to happen. So it's got to happen in the next 4 years.
That's why the Camel Laird 37 are now taking their call to Parliament, demanding the government release all relevant documents and help them clear their names, fighting to undo what they say has been 4 decades of injustice.
Well, earlier I spoke to Paul Herron, a solicitor from the Public Interest Law Centre who has taken on their campaign. I started by asking Paul why it seems so few people are aware of the 37 and their campaign.
I think there are 2 reasons why it hasn't been really acknowledged or seen by many people. The first reason is because during that period we had the miners' strike going on, and that focused a lot of people's attention on industrial action and what was happening in the UK. I think the second reason is because at that time, in particular, local authorities up and down the country were waging a struggle against the Thatcher government for better and bigger resources. And of course, as we know, Liverpool City Council was one of them. And that may have put a shadow on the disputes. Having said that, we think there is a case of a miscarriage of justice, and my clients are appealing to their union, the GMB, to fund the case, to get their case back in court, because there is an arguable case.
These men aren't getting any younger, are they? Some, like Mick's brother Christopher, have already passed away. I guess this is now a race against time for the surviving men, isn't it?
It is, in many respects. My understanding that there's only about 20 of the 37 still alive. It is a race against time. It is a race to seek justice for workers who were unlawfully, in my opinion, jailed and were only guilty of trying to defend their jobs in an area which was losing tens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs at that time.
And Paul, what would it mean to the men to be able to clear their names all these years on?
If you're accused of something that you didn't do, or if you were taken to court falsely and on false pretences, then you have the right to clear your name. And I think it's a point of principle for the 37, or at least the 20 that are still alive, and the families of the 37. Ultimately, it's all about seeking justice and showing that the lads themselves were acting in a good way for a good reason and to defend jobs.
What would you say to people who may say, well, they knew the risks, they broke the law, and these are the consequences?
Taking industrial action is a democratic right. We have it enshrined in the Human Rights Act, the right to organise, and it's our legal right to demonstrate, it's our legal right to take trade union action. But in taking trade union action, it's about defending jobs, it's about better pay, it might be health and safety. And whatever that reason is, it does not deserve a prison sentence.
OK. Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
So ahead of that debate in the Commons, Leisha joins us now from Westminster. And Leisha, this is a really important step for these men, isn't it?
Yeah, in fact, an essential one, because at this distance of time, clearing their names is going to be a massive challenge. What the 37 need is information, evidence which they hope is squirreled away in some government archive somewhere, which would help them prove that their occupation was a legal and peaceful protest. Now, in 2023, the then Conservative government said they did not believe they held the relevant records, but campaigners say there's been no exhaustive search, and they don't think this reassurance goes far enough, especially because of the political motivations that were in play during the Margaret Thatcher era. That's why the Liverpool Riverside MP is leading a debate in Parliament in less than an hour's time, trying to bring this story back to light, urging the Minister to review the case and search for that evidence. Now, there's several ways they could do that, either a public inquiry or an independent panel. That's the method that proved so essential in the investigation into the Hillsborough disaster. Either way, Kim Johnson says she's feeling hopeful.
I'm feeling very positive because for me it's about being a voice of those campaigners in Parliament. It's about having their story told. It should never have happened. It is a massive miscarriage of justice, and I would like the government to hear it very clearly and to make steps to overturn those convictions and exonerate the 37 camel-led workers.
Well, I asked the government for their stance, and I was told we recognise this is an incredibly difficult case for all concerned and for the local community more broadly, with long-lasting impacts on those affected. They added, the ability to strike is an important part of industrial relations in the UK, rightly protected by law. And that's why this matters so much, really. The camel-led 37 say they represent the very right to protest. Clearing their names would be a symbolic moment that goes well beyond Merseyside.
Yes, to see what happens in Parliament later on. Leisha, over to Westminster. For now, many thanks indeed.
Well, let's take a look at some more of the day's news now. And an inquest has opened into the deaths of 4 elderly people at a council-run care home in Runcorn, where there's been allegations of seriously poor care. All those who died, including Victor Collinson, seen here with his wife Linda, were aged between 78 and 81. They were residents at St Luke's Care Home between late 2022 and early 2023. Halton Council says it will cooperate with the coroner's inquiries. The case was adjourned until November next year.
The Health and Safety Executive have told the inquest into the death of a runner who was electrocuted that he believes the events were unforeseeable. Harry Oates from South Cumbria died near Kendal in October 2023 after coming into contact with the low-hanging electricity cable which was sagging from a pole. A representative told the inquest he believed Electricity Northwest followed procedures both in maintenance and in their investigation.
Teachers at a school in Lancashire have been on strike today against a decision for some students to be taught maths online by a teacher over 200 miles away in Devon. Members of the National Education Union at Valley Leadership Academy in Bacup began a walkout today and will stay on strike tomorrow. The school says it remains committed to working with the union and that pupils will benefit from being taught by a specialist maths teacher.
We don't want to go on strike, but the management of this school and this Academy Trust need to take this situation seriously. The pandemic was a bad experience for children when they had to learn online, and it shouldn't become the norm.
Well, next tonight, so the Muslim and Jewish leaders bringing a message of solidarity into classrooms.
Yeah, Imam Nasir Kurdi and Rabbi David Lewis are faith leaders from Greater Manchester, known for their powerful interfaith dialogue and friendship amid a climate of rising hate crimes in the UK.
They co-host a podcast and visit schools to promote understanding and empathy between communities. And Tim Scott has been to see their good work.
A Palestinian child's life is equal to that of an Israeli child's life.
A rabbi and an imam on stage at a school assembly. Friends David Lewis and Nasser Kurdi have been taking their message of tolerance and understanding between different faiths and cultures to school children around Greater Manchester.
The Palestinian child's mum is going to feel just as much pain and hurt as much an Israeli mum is going to feel the pain and the hurt. We stand on a platform that we're equal in humanity.
David and Nasser have been friends for years, but that friendship was tested after the October the 7th attacks in Israel. Despite that, the pair have persevered, and their talks carry the message that by truly engaging with each other, we can overcome our differences.
If we can listen to them, if we can act with reason, and we can make that friendship and that commitment to each other, that honesty, a real fact, then it bears repeating and it will grow.
And David and Nasser's talk was well received with the pupils at the Manchester High School for Girls.
I think it's really important to listen to their message about friendship and the way that they've described that they can still be friends while having different viewpoints and different identities.
We're from such a diverse community in Manchester. It's just about, you know, opening your ears and listening to everyone's viewpoints.
It just shows how you can make friends in any situation, even if there's conflict between political views.
So how would you sum up the message that you want to get across to students when you come to schools like this?
We go back to basics, you know, show your humanity, show your empathy, be respectful, and that is a big deal. You know, if we can't sit down and speak together, how can we actually sit to start to agree on anything?
What Nasser and I do is not unique. There's no magic formula. It's just two people saying, right, tell me your story. We're not telling you anything new, we're just reminding you. You have all of the ingredients to have a sensible and to have a fruitful relationship with somebody who's not like you.
What a brilliant message for our young people to hear, that despite difference, that you can have differences, but you can still love each other and be friends and be joined by common humanity.
Today, David and Nasser's talks have reached nearly 10,000 school children. And in these times of rising anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, their efforts to create conversations and unite us are needed more than ever. Tim Scott, ITV News, Manchester.
Food for thought for all of us. There is definitely more that unites us than divides us.
Absolutely right. Time now for a look at what's to come in the national and international news. Here's Mary.
Coming up on the programme, the family of an elderly man who died on a hospital corridor say they feel let down by the NHS. The first overhaul of youth services since the invention of the smartphone, and
Sir Roger Daltrey for services to charity and to music.
The Who frontman is knighted by Prince William. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Right, time now for sport and a mouth-watering clash in Europe tonight. Mike?
Yeah, that's right. It's the standout tie in the Champions League tonight as two former winners of the competition go head-to-head. Manchester City are in Spain for a showdown with the 15-time winners of the competition, Real Madrid. The last time City beat Madrid was on their way to lifting the trophy back in 2023. The Blues are currently in 12th spot in the Champions League table after losing to Bayer Leverkusen last month. So a win would be a welcome one.
We know how tough it is to come here. We know how special it is to play in this stadium. Me personally, I'm a bit more used because we draw against them every season. It looks like a league game now. But it's definitely a very good test to come here and to deal with this environment. So it's gonna be a fun game to play.
Liverpool manager Arne Slot refused to be drawn on the future of Mo Salah after an important win for his side in the Champions League. Made the trip to Italy.
Tonight it should be all about the players that are here. In the rich history Liverpool has, they've had many of these evenings, but in the season we are in, I think if you have an away win in this stadium against such a strong team, then it should be about the midfield or about Ibu or about the ones that are here. They deserve all the credits.
It's a huge night in the Women's Champions League as Manchester United take on the 8-time winners Lyon. It's United's 5th match of the league phase and it's a chance to climb into the top 4. Those teams finishing in that top 4 automatically qualify for the quarterfinals.
You want to play the best of the European players because ultimately, you know, it's going to help our team to grow on the pitch, off the pitch. But we're playing good football. We're enjoying our football right now, so I wouldn't take us lightly either. I think that we're going to be a wrecking force in this game.
Back to last night's action now, and Preston North End climbed up to 4th in the Championship table. That was courtesy of a 1-1 draw at home to league leaders Coventry. North End played the whole of the second half with 10 men too. Blackburn Rovers also came away with a point from their clash with fellow strugglers Oxford United. In League One, Stockport County returned to winning ways, 2-0 at Doncaster. They are 4th in the table. That is one place above Bolton Wanderers, who also won last night, 1-0 at Mansfield. Into League Two, where Salford City's 1-1 draw with Fleetwood Town keeps them in the playoff places. They were denied maximum points by Matty Virtue's late equaliser. Tranmere Rovers were comfortable 3-0 winners. That was away to Barrow. Meanwhile, Accrington Stanley also won 2-0 at Harrogate to move 8 points clear of the relegation zone. We're next to a link-up between Burnley Football Club and British Cycling to encourage more people to ride a bike. The two have joined forces to offer free weekly events to improve physical and mental well-being in the town. David Chisnall went along to see one session in action that's helping to break down the barriers to bikes.
Morning ladies, are we all good today? Yeah. Are we all up for a bit of cycling?
While British Cycling is renowned for producing Olympic champions, here in Burnley the motivation is more than medals.
Are we up for that? Yes.
Teaming up with Burnley FC in the community, they're encouraging all to get back on their bikes in a bid to boost the borough's physical and mental well-being.
How have these sessions helped you?
Helped me a lot with mental health, collective in nature, making new friends. I used to ride bikes as a kid and it's been over 20 years. Getting on the bike again. I really enjoyed it.
When you work, it's really stressful and it's nice to take that time out for yourself, and you're exercising and you don't realise you're exercising because you're just amongst a good group of girls. You know, there's a lot of banter and you're riding a bike and you've lost calories, you know, and you haven't realised.
Well done, people.
Well, the Limitless programme is open to all, but with research by Sport England and British Cycling showing just 6% of Asian women regularly cycle in England, and almost 2/3 in the northwest say they don't feel safe on busy roads, this session in Thompson Park aims to break down the biking barriers.
Cycling is a sport that South Asian community may not be able to access. You don't have to be a certain person or have a certain health to be able to get on this bike. These bikes are very open for anyone, and if we can break down that barrier, whether it's transport, whether it's a language barrier even, you know, knowing what space is right for me, I think these are the serious barriers that kind of affect the individual of not accessing it.
I remember the ladies when they first come down, they were looking at a bike, I can't ride a bike, I can't do that, I can't do this. Honestly, a little bit of encouragement, within 2 to 3 weeks, confidence, self-esteem, health and well-being, mental health has just increased. The ladies now come down on the bikes, they jump on the bikes, they cycle around the park. From cycling once round, they're actually doing 2 to 3, 4 miles each week on the bikes.
These sessions started back in February, and those helping to run them say they're life-changing.
We've had people's diabetes, their blood sugar levels have been reduced, the HbA1c reduced, we've had people losing weight, we've had all sorts of, we've got friendships kind of budding and people going out together, so there's been so many benefits to these sessions.
Go, go, go!
Well, organisers hope this small step of getting back on a bike can continue to have a big impact. David Chisnall, ITV News, Burnley.
A fantastic initiative. Finally from me to the darting superstar who's received the perfect gift ahead of the World Championships. World number 2, Luke Humphries, has been awarded the MBE by the Prince of Wales. Luke, who lives in Crewe, was the 2024 World Champion. He'll try to regain his crown from his rival Luke Littler over the next few weeks. It starts tomorrow when all eyes are on a different palace, Alexandra Palace, Ali Pali, and we'll have a very special preview of that on tomorrow's programme.
Oh, look forward to it. Thanks so much, Mike. Now, Liverpool is sometimes known as the capital of North Wales, and now the city is playing host to some of the most treasured artefacts from the far side of the River Dee.
Yes, an exhibition at the Museum of Liverpool features ancient jewellery, historic coin hoards and a priceless gold cape.
Yeah, it's a ceremonial cape that's nearly 4,000 years old, and it's widely considered one of the finest gold objects from Bronze Age Europe. Rob Shelley has been to take a look.
If you're lucky enough to catch the River Mersey on the right day with the right sky, it can almost look like someone's thrown gold into the water. Although who'd be foolish enough to chuck gold away? Well, turn left into the Museum of Liverpool and you'll see a slightly dark room full of very glittery objects that all have one thing in common. They were hidden or lost or forgotten for hundreds or thousands of years. This is maybe the most beautiful thing that's ever come from Wales.
Yep, that's right. This is the gold cape from Mold. It was found in a burial in the early 1800s.
We're staring at something 2,000 years before Christ existed, as they say.
Yep. Before the Romans, before all of that, before we had written records.
This was undiscovered for what, 3,000 years?
3,000, 4,000 years.
Maybe the beauty of this room is it's full of unanswered questions. We'll never know who made something like this gold rope called the Escaviog Torque, nor who wore it. Although we do know it once held up a fence for a bit until someone cleaned it up.
So the story goes, it was discovered by two brothers, and not realising that it was Bronze Age gold and a very unusual object, they used it for a practical purpose.
A little bit of me is thinking, what else is holding up the fences of Wales? This has become a sort of shared space, so the exhibition's in both English and Welsh. Chwarae teg there, Paul. Well done, Liverpool.
Most of the hoards that we do tend to see are Roman hoards. So sort of in the 3rd century, there was a big sort of uproar in the Roman Empire.
To uncover something which is the image of, you know, Marcus Aurelius or something like that, and he's looking at you for the first time that he's looked at anyone for over 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's really quite special, and that's actually my favourite emperor. Good name drop.
So turn left at the liver birds, take your imagination and your sense of wonder, because there is something rather wonderful shining out in a dark season. Rob Shelley, ITV News, Liverpool.
The most beautiful thing to ever come out of Wales. That is a big statement.
Bold.
Here's Nick.
Mom, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, been a drier, sunnier day today. Still blustery, not as windy as it was yesterday, but still signs of departing Storm Bram in the rough seas. So wet so far this month. Look at this rainfall anomaly map from the Met Office. The areas in light brown indicating where we've had more than 50% of the whole of our average December rainfall so far this month. Should be closer to 30%. There are some spots in white in North Lancashire, for example, closer to all of our December average rainfall having fallen in the first 9 days. So yes, it's been very wet. Is there more to come? Well, Storm Bram is moving away. This is the next area of low pressure with some rain. It's coming through tomorrow night. It does move through, and this is just one band of rain now between now and late Saturday. So there is something a little bit drier for a time. Just take note, these systems late Saturday, Sunday to Monday could well deliver further heavy rain and potential impacts, so we'll keep you updated. Compared with all of that, it is much quieter at the moment. A mix of cloud and clear spells tonight. Still enough of a breeze to stop the temperature falling too far, down towards mid-single figures in the chilliest spots, and it will be a fine start to the day tomorrow, and much of the day for most of us will stay dry. But there is that next system coming in from the west, and towards the end of the afternoon that will bring a strengthening wind and some outbreaks of rain into the Isle of Man, whereas the rest of us stay dry until after dark. But that rain will move in, and so it does come through tomorrow evening and night. A few heavier bursts in this, but it clears on through. Not going to be as wet as recent weather systems, and out of the way quite quickly on Friday morning. So beyond that, on Friday it'll be a fine, albeit cooler and fresher day. Start of the weekend dry, rain again by Sunday.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Nick. And that's about all we've got time for tonight's Granada Reports.
The latest news follows news at 10, but for now, from us and the team, have a good one. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.